This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This table is really tilted.
Excuse me? Am I gonna get a chance to speak?
Maybe I should take that back.
Denied. Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Take a giant step for mankind.
Welcome to the Tilted Table with your hosts, Sean and Joe.
Folks, welcome to another episode of the Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I'm Sean Kabibi.
And I am Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac.
And you know, Joe, I was thinking, I was talking about going to Arizona for a golfing trip. And one of the things I had talked about was a trip to the reservation, 2.5 hours on the open desert road.
Did you feel like you were in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
No, because I hadn't started drinking yet. So I don't know. They weren't drinking. Didn't they put like ether like in the floorboards, and then it would blow up into their faces, and they get high. I don't know if that's true. I want to get into Hunter S. Thompson. I question a lot of his stories, and I know that guy was a big partier and druggie and psychedelics and stuff. But some of the shit that we did this, I don't know, for some reason I'm just not buying it. But look, we're not here to talk about Hunter S. Thompson. Well, we could if we wanted to, but when we're out on the desert road, me and my friend that I was driving with, we started talking about bands or music. And again, we're talking about a lot of things. You got 4 hours to kill, and we started talking about the most overrated and underrated or properly rated bands in history. Like this band, are they overrated, underrated? But it definitely morphed into whether or not, like, what's the most overrated band in the history of music. And when you have 4 hours, you can. And this guy is definitely he's a smart dude, highly educated. He's a musician. We've been in bands together, so he knows music. I know music, and so we, anytime we say like, I think this band is overrated or if they're underrated or whatever, we actually have our evidence, our quote unquote evidence to back it up. Mm-hmm. But we think, well, I'm not gonna say we came up with a variety of bands and where they would fit on, that would be like number 2 or number 3, number 4. And it got kind of jumbled at some point because it's just really hard to say, oh, this is the most overrated band in history, and this is the second or whatever. But we did at least get a couple, and we did solidify.
I'm excited to hear this.
A solidified top 2.
Okay.
Right. There were some other bands mentioned, but again, when you start getting into, certain bands, just because we don't like them or we think they're overrated, other people would, chop our hands off for saying such blasphemy about their band. But I think we actually came up with at least the top 2, the 2 most overrated bands in the history of music. What do you think number 1 would be? And that's a tough question to ask because obviously there's only like millions of bands.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll ask you, who do you think is highly overrated? Maybe we should start there.
I mean, this is such a great question. I'll share something I did earlier today. Is Cookie and I were running some errands, and XM radio or whatever was going on in the background, and I was thinking to myself, is this a remix of, well, I knew it was a remix, but a remix of Ace of Base, I Saw the Sign. I'm like, this is kind of catchy. I remember this point in my life back in the 90s. And then we get to the next stoplight, and the song's over, and I was like, I jump on Apple Music, and I'm like, Ace of Base. It's been a minute. Oh, did you know they did a follow-up album in the year 1998 to their I Saw the Sign album?
I know that they did, yes. And I heard it was terrible.
Oh, bro. It was like, so I basically hit play, and then 15 minutes later, Cookie and I are talking the whole time. We're not paying attention. The volume's down kind of low. And then she didn't realize that I had actually turned on this album. And I was like, do you know what we're listening to right now? And she's like, it sounds like the same song. I'm like, technically, this is the 7th song on the album so far that we've been listening to. And it's just like I was like, this is where they failed as a band. Like that, I Saw the Sign. I still love that album. This was just garbage, and you could see like the ultimate one album wonder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They also did a greatest hits album. If you're interested, though.
Well, if their songs all sound the same, isn't every song a greatest hit?
Singular, greatest hit.
Greatest hit, just played 50,000 different ways.
Yeah, they actually had a remix album, and I want to say there's like 50 songs on it. There's, I Saw the Sign like 15 different ways, and it's actually kind of creative. I downloaded it years ago when it came out, and I still listen to it every once in a while.
So you think I don't. If you ask me, I would say that Ace of Base is properly rated because they had that hit song, but they weren't ever considered any kind of like, iconic anything.
No, I mean, I think they defined an era. If you were to say like mid 90s pop, I think that they were one of the main pre-Spice Girls type of a band.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is that I don't even think they defined an era. I would say Spice Girls were way more definitive than they were.
I think not the only time that you've ever used the word definitive to describe a band was 98 Degrees.
And they didn't define anything.
But the question was the most overrated band.
See,
do we have an era to work with?
When we did this conversation, we covered all eras. At one point, we even dipped as far back as into the 1950s. But admittedly, I don't think either one of us is that clear on let's say popular bands after, let's say, 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, that's when I think streaming was maybe starting to come into play. I think it's easier to declare something as being underrated, overrated, or properly rated when
pre-internet.
Not just pre-internet. I would say when albums still were coming out, and people could define your career by your debut album, your second, your third album, your fourth album, regardless of the genre.
Right.
But now people just kind of release singles, and I know albums are released, but I don't even think people really know albums when they come out.
At all.
Yeah, they recognize songs maybe. So I think it's hard to be iconic based on your career is releasing songs. Even though I know you release an album, but there's no buying an album, and I'm talking about a physical album. They might buy the album online or whatever, to stream it or whatever. But it's easier to sort of tangibly understand a band's career, I think, pre-2010.
Agreed.
I'll give you an example would be like Taylor Swift, and she's arguably, maybe not even arguably, the biggest pop star on the planet. And I know she has albums. I know the titles of some of her albums. Well, I shouldn't say I know, but if you said Taylor Swift title of an album, I would recognize it. But I couldn't tell you anything like what year it came out. I couldn't tell you maybe what songs are on it, and I couldn't even define like if that's her, third album. Is that her fourth album? Is that her first album? I would have no clue. I'm familiar with a lot of her songs because they're played all the time, but I couldn't tell you what song goes in what album. So I think it makes it harder to physically, tangibly hold someone's career to understand it. Unless you're a super fan, I'm sure Taylor Swift fans know exactly every album and all the songs on it. Yeah, but when you're coming from, let's say, when I was a teenager in the late '80s into the early '90s, even if it was a band, even if it was a band I did not really listen to, I knew the albums. Like that's their first album, and that was their second album, and I could even tell you what you primarily. That was released 1990 or 91. That one was released in 93. I knew that much, so it seemed like it was easier to kind of to visually see and sort of in your brain lay out like I see this person's career. I know the albums that came out. I know primarily first, second, third, fourth album. I knew how well those albums did in terms of popularity, if they were big sellers or whatnot. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So after 2010, I think that it would be hard for me and my friend to be able to even make a comment about, somebody being overrated, underrated, or popular. So we're talking mostly 70s to the early 2000s.
Okay, I have one, and I can stand behind my iron shield as everybody decides to throw rocks at me for saying this. U2.
U2, okay.
Yep.
That didn't come up in our conversation, but I will agree with you. I think they're horribly overrated.
It was an interesting take on a new sound when they came out. They're different, from literally where they're from, what they looked like, the street vibes that they gave off, and it was a way to manufacture, in my opinion, is a way to manufacture a group to market. And then they just pushed it as far as like all over the radio, and it was like, Bono has cool purple sunglasses, like that whole, throw them on a bunch of magazine covers, and the guitarist is called The Edge, like just lame. I was born in the 70s, so it's not, I think I listened to all that as it came out.
Oh yeah, they were huge when I was
they were huge, but even as a kid I thought they were garbage.
I never liked U2. Iconic band too, so it's a good band to pick in terms of to judge whether they're underrated, overrated, or properly rated. I had a friend, Matt, that was just a fucking psychopath. Loved this band. He would argue with me constantly about how they're the greatest band to ever exist. And, when you say that, first of all, even my all-time favorite bands, I would never say that, this is the greatest band to ever exist. But he front and back, there was no crack in, his wall of U2. There is no way you can judge it any other way. They are the greatest band in the history of music. That was his stance. And when you're telling someone who doesn't even like U2 that, I'm like going like, you get the fuck out of here. It's bullshit. I think they're overrated for sure. I'm saying this. It's easy for someone to say, well, you're not a fan, you don't like them, so of course they're going to be overrated, especially if they're super successful, right? But I think I will say this: their early stuff I thought was really good, and I'm not a fan of that style of music. I thought they did it really well. I like a lot of their early songs. I think
that's fair. That's why I say it was an interesting new take on music when they came out with their early albums. Yeah. And then after that, it was just manufactured marketing.
Yeah. I don't want to go that far with saying that it was manufactured marketing. They were definitely.
Well, remember, I'm in my pillow fort. I can say what I want.
But the reason I say that is because you're right. I think to a large extent that like any other band, or not even be a band, any kind of commodity, when they become popular, then the producers and the record labels, they want to sell 50 million records, so it's they help sort of package this thing together to get the maximum out of it. So for sure, but as I think all bands kind of go through that when they're successful. They have to deal with the record labels doing that. If I'm just talking strictly like the Joshua Tree stuff, and they had all those hit songs, I don't think they're bad songs, and this is why I think they're overrated. I just don't see why they're so damn iconic or considered to be so such a great band, head and shoulders above so many other bands. I don't think they're all that great, and I still can't pinpoint exactly why. They sound like a lot of bands to me.
Yeah, Street Has No Name is a great song. Yeah. I'm not saying that the early albums, there's some gems that are in there. I just, as a whole, the question is overrated. Yeah. And that's I would, if I were to jump onto Wikipedia and I go to overrated, it would be their picture staring back.
That's what the definition in the dictionary has, a picture of U2. I mean, that was interesting because that band didn't come up in our conversation. Again, we were trying to fish. We're just pulling out bands, that like, what about this band or that band? And again, at first it was this idea that we're just talking about overrated, underrated, properly rated.
Who else was on the list?
Well, I mean, we talked to. Well, you want to hear what we decided the most overrated band in history is?
Yes.
The Grateful Dead.
Ooh, that is a good one.
And this was a rationale. Like, first of all, we're both versed. I think I'm more versed than he is in the Grateful Dead. How do I say this? I know that they're more of a live band, so I never saw them live. So maybe, I'm missing a big part of that following they had. Because, I mean, people would follow them for decades.
Oh, yeah. My parents had friends that would just drive around their Volkswagen bus all over North America following them.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we peg them as being the most overrated, because there's college classes on the Grateful Dead. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's this iconic band, but go listen to their records. They are just a shitty blues band with a bunch of lame white dudes. I mean, that's what it is. Their music is terrible.
You have to be high to think it's good.
Yeah, we definitely had that conversation about how fucked up you had to be to really enjoy them. And I know people like them, but considering what they actually played and how good their songs were, and frankly, they were pretty much, there's no teeth to any of it. It's just this sort of, I don't know how to describe it, some sort of mid, tempo, shitty blues music, but it's so iconic. So we labeled them as the most overrated band because the music, I think, is really bad, but they are just absolutely iconic. And I mean, they have college classes on this band. Seriously, got fucking college classes for the Dead.
Well, and it's also weird because in that same vein, and then I want to hear what else is on the list, but in that same category as you have these conversations with other music aficionados that say that, you know, the Dead is trash, but have you listened to Fish? And you're like, same thing, dude. Same thing, different side of the coin.
But see, I would argue that Fish is at least properly rated because they never got to that level of like just people, you know, following them for decades. They were like the second coming of the Dead. They had a really strong, you know, following, but they didn't. I mean, even today, if you walked out and talked to people about, you know, do you know who Fish is? I don't think most people would know who they are.
Well,
I think most people would recognize the Grateful Dead.
Yes, and the Dancing Bears.
And the Dancing Bear. Yeah, a lot of the imagery that came along with the Dead. So
the skull
Fish,
with the lightning bolt. And
yeah.
I mean, in terms of the aesthetic and artwork and everything, it is a watershed part of Americana.
Yeah, and it's a big part of the hippie movement of the
Yeah.
60s, the Summer of Love, and all that nonsense. Yeah, for sure. So I'm not taking that away from them. I'm talking about the status that they achieved based solely on their actual music. It is like night and day.
One of the funny things is, and this is such a great topic, whenever I do see a dancing bear on the back of someone's car window, I always know that the person that's inside and owns that car is an aficionado and has a preference whether it's going to be LSD or mushrooms.
I think if I was a cop, I'd just pull him over because you've got a good chance that you're going to get a DUI of some sort.
Right. that person likes to get out of their mind on a regular basis.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Leave a like on the video. I know you're enjoying this. Can you shut up?
The internet's answer to a question that was never asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
Yeah. So yeah, and so that was the most overrated band. The second band that we came up with, and again, it was after much discussion, and I think this is legit. The second most overrated band is Kiss.
Yes. Yeah. I don't disagree with this.
Oh, really? Because you look like you have that look in your eyes.
No. It's one of those that I'm not a Kiss fan. However, I appreciate Kiss for everything that they are to music in terms of, like, you think rock festival, fireworks, flamethrowers, lasers.
It all came from Kiss.
It started right there.
Yeah, but I would say the same thing about them as I would say about the Dead. Yeah, they were groundbreaking in a lot of different ways. But if you just talk about their music and the level of iconicism they reached, their music sucks.
Well, without Kiss, you wouldn't have Gwar.
Well, who says I want Gwar? I mean, so
well, okay. So for our legions of intergalactic fans, you have to explain who Gwar is.
I don't know if I want to explain it.
Just give them the.
Well,
the
I mean, I would say it's just basically the original version of a band like Slipknot, where everybody's got these wild fucking costumes on. They claim to have been from another planet. They claimed at one point that they entered our atmosphere through the hole in the ozone layer created by all the glam bands that used hairspray.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so there's a bit of comedy involved with them. Their music is what it is. It's terrible, and it's loud, and it's heavy, and it's fast, and it's just, I don't know. Gwar is a gimmick. I mean, but you're right. Without Kiss, you don't have bands that do this kind of stuff. At least, well, you shouldn't say that. Somebody may have done it eventually, but they were definitely the first to do it. The biggest problem I have with Kiss is their early albums, and I've actually listened to every Kiss album all the way through like the mid '90s. I think after that, I didn't listen to any Kiss albums. But the biggest problem I had was their early albums were just horribly recorded. Like, I don't understand how they could even sell some of these records. I think they're so poorly recorded.
I mean, in terms of, like, you could tell that they pieced the song together?
No, I mean, like, the drums sound like tin cans. Like, there's no punch to the drums.
The actual engineering.
The guitars sound thin. Oh, yeah. And I know that Peter Criss wasn't a rock and roll drummer. He was more of a jazz, R&B kind of drummer. But nonetheless, you're supposed to be a rock band, especially with the way that you look. You see those covers and you think that this is going to be, it's a kick-ass, heavy-ass band coming into your face. I know it's the early 70s, mid-70s when they first came out, but there were bands like Led Zeppelin that were putting out well produced, well engineered. John Bonham's drums on a Led Zeppelin, that's fucking, it hits you right in the damn chest.
Yep, epic.
You hear a Kiss album and it sounds like some little kid with one of those toy sets in his bedroom. It's all teeny sounding. So the recording, I think, quality of their songs are really bad early on. I mean, it obviously got better as as time went on. They put out more albums and they got probably a bigger budget. But the other thing is, I think their songs are pretty weak in terms of just music quality. They're just basic songs, and their lyrics are terrible. Love Gun, it's stupid. It's a stupid song. Lick It Up, stupid. The lyrics are just so juvenile. They had a song, and this is one of their later songs. So we're talking about the late 80s, early 90s. Mm-hmm. They had a song that they released called "You Make Me Rock Hard."
Seriously, that's a song?
Yeah, I mean, how many times can you write this kind of? Again, I like party music, as much as the next guy, but at some point, the poet, it is what it is. What's the famous quote from Spinal Tap? This band is treading is treading in a sea of bad poetry and retarded sexuality. The musical growth of this band can't even be charted. Right? That's basically Kiss to me. And I mean, they're massively successful. The Kiss Army, there's fans out there that chop your fucking head off for saying things like this. But I'm talking just musically. I think when you look at their music, and I mean every album from the debut album all the way into the early 90s, they're not that good of a band. They're great at marketing themselves, and the show, the whole show is awesome and all that stuff. So, but as big as they are, as iconic as they are, overrated, fucking way overrated. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was number 2. Now we never got to a number 3. We discussed a lot of bands, but then we started going off more on tangents about is this person overrated, or is that band overrated or underrated? So there was a number of discussions that we had. One that was thrown out there by my friend. I disagreed initially, but then I talked my way out of it by trying to compare to some contemporary, or how do you compare it? So he suggested that Michael Jackson is overrated.
Heresy.
And I turned around and said, was it a Dave Chappelle quote he wrote Thriller, man. He wrote Thriller. Right?
Heresy.
Do you remember that Chappelle show when he's on the stand?
Yes.
It was like, he was Michael Jackson, pedophile. He wrote Thriller. That absolves him of everything. So I that was my initial. He was like, yeah, but what else? What else did he really do? And I said the Jackson 5. And I mean, if you watch young Michael Jackson with Jackson, I mean, that dude, there were professional dancers and singers that had been doing it for 20 years that were half as good as him. And he's like, he's fucking 7 years old.
Yep.
So we had that conversation about whether or not you would include the Jackson 5. I said, I think you have to include his entire career. Mm-hmm. But he did come to the point okay, so let's assume that he's really talented. We get that. But really, when you look at the entire catalog outside of Thriller, what the fuck did he do? Now, could you lean on the fact that Thriller was such a massive, massive cultural event that automatically puts you in an iconic status that can't be touched? Or is there an expectation that the rest of your catalog has to have some other things to hold on to? Now, if you go to Off the Wall, which I think is a fine album.
I like Off the Wall.
But I don't know if it's quite iconic. I think it was better than most of the shit that was coming out when they come out 79-ish. Mm-hmm. And then, but Bad, I didn't really dig anything on Bad.
What about the theme song from the movie Free Willy?
Did he do that?
Yep.
I'd never seen Free Willy.
What?
Dude, we already had this episode. We're not going to go back to it. I haven't seen Free Willy.
Just yet another movie to add to your I have not watched list.
I know. It's terrible. It's fucking horrible.
Yeah. That list has 90 movies on it.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that? Could you, look, I don't know if the king of pop, a guy that's considered probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest musicians to ever grace this planet, and I think that's the only reason he would be overrated. Does he deserve it? And I'm going to give you the answer. I talked my way out of this because I'm like, is Thriller enough to give him that title? And is that title overrated? And I'll give you an answer after you give me your answers to why it may be true that he's highly overrated. Go ahead.
It's funny. I am a huge Michael Jackson fan. And I actually, as much as I love his early stuff, I'm a really big fan of his later stuff, especially the Invincible album. Where he did "You Rock My World."
Okay.
With that's the famous Chris Tucker music video.
Yeah.
It's not just about the music. I think you could center a lot of great commentary around the lyricism and the production value, but we're also talking about the persona, the art, the cultural movement, the impact that he had on the world itself.
Yeah.
That makes it iconic. It's kind of like Michael Jordan being iconic for what he did.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I think the thing is that, yeah, he was all that, but what did his music warrant that level of iconicism?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you think it does?
100%.
Okay, so here's my argument against that.
Oh, wait. Is this coming from the man who also says was one of the greatest songs ever to be created is Tub Thumpin' by Chumbawamba?
Hey, I like what I like. No, Chumbawamba. Dude, fuck Chumbawamba. My answer to all that is Prince, who I think is equally as good of a singer.
Yes.
Equally as good of a dancer. I think he's a better songwriter. And he can play every instrument, and he's a badass guitar player. And I think his style and his persona, I think is I think it's way cooler than Michael Jackson ever was.
So I sort of agree. I think that in terms of being a true artist, like a Da Vinci type of character, that was definitely Prince. Michael Jackson gave the people what they wanted. Okay,
yeah. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying like Michael Jackson's overrated. I'm just putting that out there because when I start to think of some of, again, it was really mostly leaning on Prince because I was thinking like, I know that Prince is iconic too, but I don't know I don't know how the majority of people think about Prince versus Michael Jackson versus Prince. Some people will be in the Michael Jackson camp. Some people would be in the Prince camp. Maybe they're just equally like there's just no way to delineate one is better than the other or whatever. So I don't want to get into that. But the thing that I was leaning on is that Michael Jackson, at least with the titles, the King of Pop, I think he sold more records than Prince probably over his lifetime. And I think he's elevated above Prince. Like, I think most people will say that Michael Jackson is more iconic than Prince. Prince might be right behind him, but Prince isn't above him.
Correct.
And maybe you get some people to say that it's like Lamborghinis and Ferraris here. Like, at some point it's just a personal preference, right? But the thing that for me, the difference I think is that when you look at Prince, can you think of any era, a single artist that could dance, sing, write, play on the level that he did all of those things at? I can't think of one. And that's where me and my friend got into a point where it's like, I think Prince has to be above him just based on that. He made better albums, and I think in totality, and they were at least in the same kind of genre. So it's not like I'm comparing heavy metal and country music or anything like that. And I can't think of one person. I know great guitar players. I know great dancers. I know great singers. I know people that are both great singers and dancers.
Are you talking about Mark Wahlberg?
Of course, Marky Mark, of course. But can you think of an artist, any genre, any era, that could do everything that Prince could do at the level that he could do it? We couldn't come up with somebody.
I know. I mean, off the top of my head, no. So
that makes Michael Jackson overrated? I don't know. I guess Michael Jackson, maybe he's just properly rated. I mean, he's iconic. I mean, like, I'm not going to fucking drop on Michael Jackson. But
yeah, no, I mean, he gave the planet the music that it needed at the time that it needed to hear it. Where Prince, I'm a huge Prince fan, but there's certain albums I could care less to listen to, but that was him being.
Wait, you didn't like Diamond and Pearls?
I like something. Hey, I'd get down with that for sure. But no, there's some that were like, were his experimental jazz albums and whatnot. It's not. I'm not throwing rocks at it. I'll totally listen to it. It just wasn't for the public. It was him expressing himself and being creative, and it was kind of like, I don't care if you listen to it or not. This is me, and I appreciate that for what it is. But when you think of Michael Jackson in a body of work, he gave the world what it wanted.
True. And also, I'm gonna one accolade that I'm gonna give Prince over Michael Jackson is, and Prince was also a movie star. Purple Rain is the shit.
Yes.
And way better than The Wiz.
Oh man. Or Ben, was that Ben was the song from The Wiz?
Yeah. Well, what was the other thing that Captain EO, the Disneyland thing?
Bro, I have a tank top, Captain EO tank top that I still wear around the house right now.
Oh, gee, if you have that.
Hey, it's like fresh off of Temu. I like Captain EO. That was awesome.
Captain EO was dope. Yeah,
especially in the year 1984 when it came out. Like, again, the world had never seen something like that. A 3D movie where you save the galaxy through dancing and music.
Yeah, but still, Purple Rain whips them all. Purple Rain is an absolutely phenomenal piece of work, and it's not again. These guys aren't even. I think it's the other thing I like about Purple Rain is that first of all, it's the music of the album Purple Rain, which is super cool. That's a iconic probably one of the best albums ever made. I get all that. But the fact that none of these folks were actors or screenwriters and they put this thing together, and it is a well put together movie, even the acting in it isn't that bad for a bunch of people that really, they don't act. They weren't actors. And maybe you can say, well, they're playing sort of fictional versions of themselves, so how hard can that really be? But, put yourself in front of a camera where you have to, tell a story.
Right.
And, it's not as easy as you think, even if you're supposed to be yourself. It's not the easiest thing to do.
You know else who could dance, act, songwrite, and produce? Rob Van Winkle.
Yes, the famous Vanilla Ice.
Yes.
He couldn't. He's lucky. No, he's lucky, man. I'll tell you that. He's even luckier than Marky Mark.
or as you like to refer to him, White Chocolate.
White Chocolate.
Yes. No, it's such a great. As you and your friend were out in the desert, for hours on end, staring at the dusty horizon. That's an awesome conversation.
Oh yeah.
Did he have an answer for you that surprised you?
Yeah, he's actually he's younger than me, so he's from the 90s. He suggested that, and I think I'm sure we prodded a little bit with this. Suggested that Nirvana is highly overrated.
It popped in my head.
And that's a band that he likes.
Yeah, no, it popped in my head. But again, it was such a watershed moment in musical history. I don't want to take that crown away from them.
But also, their body of work was small because Kurt Cobain died so young.
Correct.
So we can't. It's hard to say like, well, we only had that one album. I'm like, well, yeah, but he didn't really have a career.
Did Courtney Love really kill him?
I don't know enough about. I don't think. Who knows? I know they're investigating it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some new evidence that came out.
Right.
It wouldn't surprise me. She's a shady biatch. But yeah, we had that. There was another one that came up was Bob Dylan. I'm not a Bob Dylan fan. Now I think he's overrated. My friend thought that the reasons I think he was overrated, I was missing the point of Bob Dylan. It's supposed to be about the lyrics and the poetry.
I was just gonna say, it's really hard for me to throw rocks at Dylan. I don't listen to any of his music. Not that I haven't. I have, but he's in the vein of a poet.
Yeah,
in the written word, and I can respect that.
Yeah, I just think that like I could just never get past. First of all, I don't like that kind of slow, folky, hippie music anyways. It's got to me, it's got a short shelf life for my ability to listen to it. It's like when the 90s, when all those women came out with acoustic guitars like Sheryl Crow. Like, I like the music. I like Jewel. I like Bjork.
Oh, yeah. Whatever happened to Jewel? She ran up to Alaska or something?
No, she actually she ditched her style and released an album. I can't remember the name of it, but it was straight up pop music. Like she was going to be a Katy Perry. It didn't work.
Oh,
and yeah, that ended her career. But yeah, like Bjork and was it Susan Vega?
That's right, Suzanne Vega. Yeah,
right,
I haven't heard that name in a minute.
Yeah, and so you got these
singer-songwriter
I mean, and
types.
so the grunge bands did it too. And we even had that conversation about they all kind of went acoustic, and I just have a hard time. Again, I'm a rock and roll guy, so I want to hear drums, guitars, bass. I'm not saying every song has to have distortion, but I want to give me
character.
Well, it's like everything else. It's like so I'll give you an example. If you go to a thrash concert, and I like some thrash bands, but that music has a short life for me when I listen to it because every song is the same fucking speed, and some guy screaming in a mic and a guitar going a million miles an hour. That's cool, but 10, 11, 12, 15 songs, bro, I'm out. Like, give me some variety. And that's the problem I have with the acoustic stuff is like, it's just, to me, it was just put you to sleep. It's like, okay, my next song is about war and the unfairness of the system, and just here's some 3 chords and some guy, muddling out some lyrics about whatever. And after a while, that just gets tiresome. It gets old. It's boring. So I never got into Dylan because that's what it all sounded like to me. And then, of course, he can't sing. I don't know, maybe some people like that, his style, but that like, be yourself, man, again, you can only do that for so long. I'm just like, I'm out. Yeah. So I know he's iconic, and I know, again, I understand it's about the poetry. So I think that was his attitude was, you're looking at it in a different way than what he's iconic for. But I do know what he's iconic. It's not like I don't know that. I just don't want to separate that from the fact that, again, how can you fucking listen to this music for hours on end and just go like, oh my God, Bob Dylan, man, he's so awesome. But he's iconic. So
yeah. Well, it's funny in terms of like in house music in my era, from 25 plus years ago, and there's a subgenre that was called happy hardcore.
Okay.
And happy hardcore was like, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I want to say it was like 160 beats per minute.
Okay, yeah.
It was like you just would go into these, rooms at these underground warehouse parties, and it was like just the music alone was like you were on crystal meth.
Oh yeah.
And now it's like I still have all those albums, and I just popped one in the deck the other day, just more out of curiosity. Like I remember I love this album, and I probably wore the grooves off the CD.
Right.
But it's been 2 decades. I wonder what it's like. I think I lasted 30 seconds. Like,
oh really?
Bro, I'm out. I can't do this. My eyeballs are shaking in my head. But it's so much fun to go back and forth through our music catalog and just, like anything in life, have an open heart, open mind, to learn about new artists, and maybe, you and I'm a quasi-musical artist.
Yeah.
I have 32 published singles now.
Hey, you probably sold more songs or records than me, or more listens. And I'm actually the one that did this shit.
I want to say it's like 40,000 plays.
Yeah,
so
I'm
far.
not even close to that. Yeah. All the bands I've been in, and we've never even come close to anything like that.
There you go, dude. And I do it all on my phone.
But see, the thing is that you're a little more active and actually promoting shit. Like I don't promote anything I do. It's like the worst. I'm the worst at promoting my own shit.
Well, we gotta get better at that. See, as president of the Kabibi-san Intergalactic Fan Club, I need to do a better job on promoting you.
I need some stuff to promote. Yeah, maybe I should get back into the music game and kick off a couple songs.
Or do we call you Dr. Sean?
Yeah, we could. I wouldn't use that name though.
If someone has a heart attack on an airplane and they ask if there's a doctor on board, do you stand up?
Oh my God, Colton and I had the same joke when we were sitting on the plane together. Like it'd be great to have somebody scream out like, "Is there a doctor in the house?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I run up to him and he's dying of a heart attack, and I'm like, what are the main motifs in Shakespeare's Hamlet? He's not responding to me. I don't think he's all right.
Oh, it's always something, man. Always something.
I have an important announcement for you, so stay tuned.
Yo, that's some next level shit, bruh. So you got me. Big deal.
The internet's answer to a question no one asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
Folks, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I'm Sean Kabibi.
And I am Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac.
And we're the one thing that is not overrated is The Tilted Table.
That is not.
We're grossly underrated.
Hey, check it out on all streaming platforms.
That's right, at The Tilted Table 1.
You can even listen to Ace of Base.
But you can.
At your own peril.
At your own peril.
Peace.